Good evening. This is a video that I have actually failed before, and I have been waiting to put out for a long time. We're going to show you how to install the DS. My cables are on the way. We're going to show you how to install this guy. You can focus for me. The DS capture card. Come on, focus, please. There you go. You can see that little... There it is. The DS capture card. So, if I plug this in right here. Whoopsie. And I open up dscapture.exe, you will see, I'll show you how to do this later. You're gonna see, oh look, there's something. And I power on the DS. You will see, aha, the DS capture card. And I can grab this DS, press A, and then you can see me scrolling through my games and stuff. So that's cool. So how do we install one? Well, first you're actually going to need the capture card. They're available from 3dscapture.com. Again, we'll go through the process after we install it. And you're going to get this little motherboard. If I can focus in on that. Come on, focus. It's focusing on my face. Alright, forget it. Anyways, you're gonna get this little motherboard. And it's gonna have some double-sided tape on the back, which is actually very important. Then, what you're gonna get is... It's gonna come in this little gray baggie. Sorry. My stomach is not feeling good today. You're gonna get a little coupler cable, and this is very important. A little coupler ribbon cable. And it's keyed, so it can only go in one way. So there are two ways you can install this. You can install this with a USB charging mod, or without a USB charging mod. And the first time I shot this video, I tried to do it with the USB charging mod, and I destroyed the motherboard, so I had to wait over a week to get a new motherboard, but that's the first thing we're gonna do. So first thing you're going to want to do is take off the back plate and take the battery out, take any games out, and get to the motherboard. Next thing we're gonna want to do, there's a lot of prep work, that needs to go into the back plate. This thing, take this screw out, take the top screw out, wherever that was, and take out this thing, the stylus. You're not going to be able to use the stylus anymore. Or at least hold it. You're going to be able to use the stylus, just not hold it. Next thing you're going to want to do is cut out up here. Again, I'll show a zoom in on this. You're going to want to cut out here. Here, I'll just zoom it in. This has to zoom in for me. There we go. See, up next to the DS cartridge slot, you're going to want to cut that out. Down to the top right of the GBA slot protection, you want to cut that out. You see where I've cut there on the GBA slot. Cut these two little right angle pieces on the opposite side of my hand. Cut the screw hole where you see the silicone that I put in. Cut that screw hole out. Cut the extra plastic around the shoulder button. Keep the hole, but cut around there. So you see where there's no extra plastic around that shoulder button hole. Cut that out. Then cut any nubs to keep the plastic flat in this big area. And then we're gonna want to use a Dremel to cut out a hole for the micro SD card slot. So as you can see, there's a big hole right there for the micro SD card slot where I dremeled. Last thing we're going to want to do with this cover is, well, this is optional, but I would highly recommend this, is use silicone or some kind of aquarium seal or some kind of sealant to cover up the screw hole and the stylus hole. My camera is refusing to focus. There we go. See how I covered up the stylus hole and that screw hole? Because if you don't, then the capture card is going to be exposed. Oh, one last thing I would recommend is cutting off a little bit of plastic where my thumb is. You see on the top, it focused in on my face again. On the top, just so you can slide in the capture card easier, because it's going to come in contact with this side of the plastic, so I'd recommend cutting a little bit away over where you milled for the micro USB port. Now that we've got the bottom of the case prepared, we're going to be installing the capture card. So if you're installing the USB charging mod to charge through the capture card, first you're going to need a working soldering iron. And this is very important because I burnt this board and this is dead because I didn't use a good soldering iron. So you're going to want to solder from the volt in. There, right there, volt in. And you see I freaking destroyed that. Don't destroy it, use a good soldering iron. Solder a wire to the volt in. After you've done that, waiting for focus. After you've done that, you can run that wire around the top of the motherboard back out here. And if you're not installing the USB charging mod, which I probably would recommend since, you know, soldering irons can be very fatal to the board, take out the top, take out this top ribbon cable to the screen. Next, you're going to want to take your coupler cable, blow it off, make sure it's clean. Take the large end, the large dark end, the one that's longer, and face it down. Face this down and line it up with the contacts. So you're going to want to, if you're going in like this, you have the dark side up and then the contacts down. So contacts down, dark side up, and long side facing towards you, and insert it into the ribbon cable port on the motherboard. There you go. You can see that pretty nicely. So the short side is facing out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the capture card and open up the first trapdoor. Now this is important. This gray piece, that is not a trapdoor. The trapdoor on the first slot, you literally cannot focus in on this. Come on. Focus, please. Please focus for me. Come on. Please focus. Okay, this refuses to focus on the capture card. But anyways, the trapdoor is on the back of the first slot. So don't break the gray part, because I accidentally broke it in the first capture card. Luckily the capture card still worked, but do not try and pry open the gray thing. That is actually the protective cover. The trapdoor is on the back and it faces inward. So roll the coupler cable up into the first slot of the capture card. Okay, wow, that was difficult to do. But now the DS, without breaking the shoulder button, come on. Yeah, now the DS should look like this. So you have the coupler cable into the motherboard. Yep, coupler cable into the motherboard, and the ribbon cable is hanging out. And it's going into the first slot of the capture card. Now, it's pretty self-explanatory. put the original ribbon cable into now this one, the trapdoor is normal. Okay, focus on me, focus on me, focus on me. There we go. And this one, the trapdoor is normal. It's facing the ribbon cable, so you don't need to worry about some sort of like confusion about the ribbon cable here. You might need to pull on the ribbon cable a little bit for it to fit. Sorry about the handling noises. So just put it in that second slot. Okay, so after you've wrestled with this for a little bit, now your DS should look like this. Please focus, for the love of Christ. Okay, there we go. So you've got the coupler cable in the first slot and the original ribbon cable in the second slot. And now if you're installing the USB charging mod, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Now that we have for the people who are doing the USB charging mod, you are going to want to solder to pretty much the only point you can solder to on the capture board. So where my finger is, to fight with this thing to focus on it. There we go, you can see it right above my pointer finger. There's a big metal contact right above my pointer finger. That is the biggest circular contact you can see on the board. That's where you're going to solder to if you want the USB charging mod. If you don't, then you can continue on with the mod. So if you've cut this up properly, sealed it up, done whatever, what I would recommend is sliding this on over the micro USB thing, the micro USB port, and trying to finagle it over the shoulder buttons. But that is rather difficult to do. I'm trying to do it now, and my gosh, this is hard. So what I would recommend doing is making sure the capture board is completely level and straight, so that the USB port is facing straight out the back. Make sure, because you only get one shot at this, or else you're gonna have to cut up the back of the thing more, and this part. And I think this is what I had to do in the previous capture card installation. So peel off the double-sided tape. And then pull it as far back as you can. So pull it as far back as you can, making sure it's still completely forward and backwards with the case. And stick it in. I think I got it pretty good there. Fairly certain I got it pretty good. That's right up against the case. Right up against the thing, but I think that's what we want. So now we can try to slide this over the USB port. And this is the hard part. This is the hard part because you have to really kind of force the micro USB slot over this plastic case. And this is the part that I freaking hate, because you try to put it in and it doesn't want to slide over it. It just wants to fight with you. Very annoying. Alright, I think I've figured out the solution. If you stuck it wrong, you kind of have to brute force this, but you have to push it back a little, and that might... You want to be very careful when pushing it back. Again, this is very difficult to slide it over the plastic casing, or slide the casing over this capture board. But once people stop running around in my house and screaming at me through the doors I should be able to focus enough to, there we go, slide it right over there, and now we have a clean capture card. If I can focus. 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 Jesus mother freaking Christ. Focus on this motherfucker, would you? There you go. Holy crap. This camera just does not want to focus. Alright, so there's the capture card installed. And there we go. So now, sync. Okay, so I'm here at Loopy's website because I was having white flashes. Only when I opened two DS capture cards, because of course, you know, I have two DS capture cards. I was only getting the white flashing when I opened up two DS capture cards. The reason for that is because Streamlabs didn't know which capture card to pick up. Because in order to, first let's go through the driver process and then I'll talk about this more. So go to the website, again, oh geez, you can't see this. There it is, 3dscapture.com, that's literally all it is. Go to DS Capture, and then download the driver and software. They're extremely easy. It's literally just running the driver installation, which takes about 3 seconds. You literally just click, and then click on your downloads, and it'll install instantly. The software is literally an exe in a folder. You can literally run it out of your downloads. So that's how you install the driver. So the problem I was having was that I was having white flashes when I opened up two DS captures. I feel really unfortunate for Double Raven. She, or he, I don't know what gender you are. They commented on my previous video about having white flashes, on her DS capture card, and she has a pretty freaking nice computer, so it seems like she would have no problem running it. I mean, again, these are pretty much these don't require a lot of computing power whatsoever. But what my problem was OBS, not using Streamlabs OBS. The reason for this... Okay, we're back. So I figured out the issue with using multiple DS capture cards. The reason you might be having white flashing is because you're plugged into a USB 2.0 hub, and it's trying to transfer data, but not being able to come across the bus fast enough. So what was happening was, while the data could transfer sufficiently enough without using something like OBS or Streamlabs OBS, when I opened any recording software up, it would instantly start white flashing because it was trying to use a USB 2.0 hub, and it was failing miserably. So what I had to do was I left one DS is still in the USB 2.0 hub, but my second DS is in a USB 3.0 port, and this, I tried using a separate USB 2.0 port, but that still didn't give me sufficient enough data transfer. So I had to move the second DS capture card over to the USB 3.0 port, and that solved everything. So if you're having white flashing using multiple DS capture cards, or maybe if you have white flashing using one DS capture card, just move it over to a USB 3.0 port, and that will solve most of your issues. So that is pretty much going to do it for this video. Yeah, the DS capture card is really freaking cool. One thing about GBA capture, so let's go to GBA capture on this guy, and then let's start Pokemon Emerald. So GBA capture works as normally, but let's say on this, so there's Pokemon Emerald working just fine. Oh, I need to edit that save back in with my R4. But let's say you have a... Where's my R4? Let's say you have an R4, right? So let me shut this DS off, the first DS, and insert an R4. If you have an R4 in your DS capture card, right, and you try to go to GBA Runner 2. So, oh, no, I didn't want to click that. So go down to GBA Runner 2. So, you know, let's say you want to play one of your DS game or your GBA games off a ROM because you don't have a, or you want to do like shiny hunting or something, or just use multiple cartridges of what you have. If I go to the second DS capture window, where's this one? If I go to the second DS capture window and I hit GBA, it won't work. There's nothing, it doesn't recognize the GBA window. It only will recognize a GBA window if a game is being played in the GBA slot. So you have to use like single window or something. So you have to use single window capture that in OBS in order for, and then just use like Alt and you can trim down the window to fit that perfectly. So not too big of a deal. For audio, you are going to have to use a 3.5mm jack cable to your computer. It is a little bit annoying, but it's really not that hard to do. And I mean, I don't know. It's like for shiny hunting, I don't really use audio that much. But I guess if you want audio for, let's say, a GBA game, you're gonna have to use a 3.5mm jack cable, and the audio should go just fine if you're using a USB 3.0 port. I would recommend using a USB 3.0 port, just because so it can get sufficient transfer data and you don't have any issue with audio. So, that's gonna do it for DS Capture Card Troubleshooting Installation Guide. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if this helped you out, and I'm gonna see you guys on the next one. So, peace out.